Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Leora if you're new here, and it's about 11 o'clock. I have a review session going on right now, so I'm about to get into that. And it's a good morning. It's gonna be a good day. I have some interesting news to share with you guys, so I'm sure that's in the title, but we'll get into that later. Just thought I'd vlog the day and then we'll chit chat a little bit later on. Okay? Okay, so that review session was A1. It was really great. I really like the style of going over poll everywhere questions, and if you don't know what poll everywhere is, it's where, I guess it links it to the site poll everywhere, and you basically get to go to that site and choose the answer that you think is correct, and the professor can show the answers and talk about what is the correct answer and whatnot. So I really like this because it's interactive and it's totally anonymous, so if you're shy about someone knowing what you chose, you don't have to worry about that. Poll everywhere is nothing new. We've been using this since we started dental school, so I'm a big fan. So something I just want to mention is I always have a hard time wanting to share how to study videos because, to be honest, I don't have a consistent study method, and especially with the curriculum changing for us from in-person lectures to online, it's been very difficult for me, and so that's why I want to share these videos with you, but my study methods are constantly changing. I have to adapt like crazy, and then a lot of classes you're not studying the same, at least I'm not. So I wish I could share an awesome study method with you that will work for every class, but that's just not the case, and I can just tell you how I'm studying for GI right now. And this is an adapted study method that I just started for this exam. So bear with me. Okay, so what I did was I would have my PowerPoint on my iPad, and then I would have my laptop up with a Google document, and I would type out the lecture. And I kind of outlined, but I tried to only include high yield information. So how is this different than what I was doing in the past? So in the past, I was collaborating with a few of my fellow classmates, and we would divide the lectures up and only do like a few of the lectures instead of all of them. This time, I think I find that I actually need to outline myself because it forces me to look at the material, and then so after I would outline like a few slides or maybe even the whole PowerPoint, I would go back and I would read my outline to make sure that I understood everything. So as I'm going along, I'm typing and I'm trying to understand what I'm typing. And then I would go back after I typed it and just be like, okay, does this make sense? Did I format all of this correctly? Can I move stuff around to make it a little bit more cohesive? And another difference from what I did before to now is I'm not highlighting anything, at least in this first pass. So as I'm typing, I will use black text. And then if I notice that something's bolded or highlighted in the PowerPoint, then I will use a color. And I would use a different color for every like subsection. Medicine has its own color, pathology has its own color, you get it. And so this is trying to help my brain to formulate, okay, red is going to be associated with pathology. And so this is trying to help me better recall information. This isn't what I'm hoping. I don't know if this is going to work yet. The exam is Friday. Now that I've outlined every PowerPoint, I'm going to go to the lecture captures and listen to what the professors have to say. I was noticing that when I was listening without understanding anything, that I was just like got really bored very quickly, and if you don't know what's happening in class, I feel like it's harder to pay attention because you're like, okay, I'm already lost, what's the point in listening? So at least at this point, I have a general understanding, a little bit of background, so when I listen to a lecture, I don't think I'll feel as lost, and it'll help me pay attention to when they say key points. And then after I do that, I'm going to try and highlight things that the professor might have emphasized. That's where that will come in handy, and then from there I will just review my notes. So I have a lot of lectures to get through today, so hopefully it will all go well. Also, a side note, it is absolutely gorgeous this week in Boston. It's in the 70s and 80s, and you better believe I'm gonna go outside today, so I will definitely take you along. Okay, and for another study break, I figured I could play Catan. Oh, don't look at the dirty dishes. Who do you think is gonna win? Me or Spence? It's clearly me. I always win. It's clearly dark out now. I was studying my physio review on the couch because I wanted to be comfy, and I haven't done that in a while, and so I was like, oh, okay. And the professor's voice was like so soothing. It kind of just, I don't know, made me really tired. Anyways, I guess we should just get right into it now. So my overall grade for my cardio class was a 65. So I'm just gonna talk about how I kind of got to that point and what Tufts rules are. So what kind of led up to me getting such a bad grade in cardio? Basically, Corona happened and we had to switch from in-person lectures to all online, which isn't a big deal, but I was finding myself losing, you know, the support of my friends and being able to do, you know, in-person study sessions. But not only that, going to the library, that was taken away from me. Having a different environment for studying and only having to study like in one place or a few different places, but still in my house. Our classes were also structured a little bit differently than they were before, so that kind of threw me off. My grades were definitely getting worse than they were, you know, before all of this happened, and I was struggling with that. I kept trying different methods. That's why it was hard for me to put out like a how I study video, because I know a lot of you wanted it, but I didn't feel I was strong in my methods, so I was struggling with that. And at the end of the day, I was just trying to pass my classes, and clearly that didn't happen, at least for cardio. I definitely wanted to film this video because I think it's important for people to hear that it's okay to fail and it's not the end of the world. I definitely felt that way. When I saw my second exam score, I was like, there's no way that this can be right. Like, they must have graded incorrectly, because honestly, I felt for my second cardio exam, I was like, I got a 75 or higher. That will bring me up to a pass. Like, I'm good. And then I saw my score, and that was like with a little bit of a curve, and I was like, it was definitely like a hard pill to swallow. So I reached out to a few different friends who I knew would give me what I needed in that moment, and that was just kind of like support, and I knew that they wouldn't judge me, and it was a really hard time, but we're here now. So I'm still processing this, so I hope I don't get emotional, but it's definitely a bummer, and it's also weird to say this to camera and then know that a ton of people are going to see this later. Okay, so what happens now? Do I have to repeat the year? Am I fine? Do I just have to remediate? What happens? So at least for Tufts, I can't speak for other schools, but I will remediate this class, and it depends on the professor what they want you to remediate. Because I got a 65 on both exams, my professor didn't know what to do. We talked about it and decided that me taking the second exam would be a good option, because honestly, I didn't really want to take 2 exams. And all I really need on that second exam is a 75 or higher to pass the class. So I'll talk about how remediation works a little bit. So if you get a 65 to 69, then you technically have a D. And that's not considered failing. 65 is a pass in Tufts' book, but you have to remediate in that range. So because I fall in that range, I have to remediate. So remediation for me will consist of taking 1 or more exams and hopefully getting a 70 or higher for that full class. So this is how it would work. So I'm not going to be taking exam 1, so that grade will stay the same, but I am retaking exam 2. So I would need a 75 or higher on exam 2 to pass the class, so get a 70 or higher overall. So even if I got 100 on exam 2, my overall grade can only be bumped up to a C minus, and the D will never go on my record. But if for some reason I don't pass remediation, then the D will stay on my permanent record. Which is fine, because at the end of the day, if my GPA is 2.25 or higher, then I'm still in good academic standing. So once I wrapped my head around all of this information, I started to lessen the panic and the feelings of, you know, feeling just so down. And I was like, okay, it's not the end of the world. This will be good for me. I was weak in cardio. Cardio was really hard for me. But now I get the opportunity to study it a little bit more and hopefully get down some of those topics that I was kind of struggling with. It's hard being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. So I do feel a little bit a little anxious right now talking about this, but I know that you guys support me, and I'm sure that you'll only give me love in the comments. But I wanted to be honest and share this experience with you. In the moment, I was definitely crying. I didn't tell many people about it at first because, again, it was just like, it was a lot. And I emailed the professor right away, again, thinking that the grading was incorrect. And she was really nice, and we set up a Zoom meeting to go over my exam. Then I got another email from another professor who was reaching out and just being so kind, and that just like triggered me into crying again. So it was just a lot of emotions for like a few days. But we're definitely better now. Still maybe a little bit emotional about it, but it's okay. One thing I should mention is if I did get below a 65, that would be an F, and I'm not sure the protocol for that. I didn't really read into it. I just kind of figured out what was important for me and kind of went from there. So I'm not sure about if I actually failed, what would happen. I feel like I would have to remediate. I'm not really sure, but don't have to worry about that for now. So just happy to be given a second chance to do better. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to failing in something one way or another, and hopefully this comforts you in knowing you're not alone, because I definitely felt alone for a little bit. But it's okay. You need to fail to grow sometimes, and it's only going to make you stronger. Okay, so with that, I'll end the video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new, subscribe down below. We're so close to 1K. I'm not usually someone who likes to talk about numbers, but it's so exciting. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. Bye.